To answer your questions of what you need to do by when, I have written up a schedule for the entire spring 2021 semester, and I have it laid out like this. In the far left column is the lecture material that you need to view by that Monday. And then in the middle column is which activity you're going to be doing as part of your activity session, either on Wednesday or on Friday. So that would be, so Wednesday is Chem 100 Section 3, and Friday is Chem 100 Section 2. Don't ask me why we organize them backwards. It's not my fault. And then in addition, we have due this week. So this will be your list of actual assignments that have due dates that need to be turned in by certain days. Okay? But that doesn't really tell you everything about like which Zoom sessions you need to attend or not and so on, but it does give you a rundown of most of your to-do lists. Okay? In general, the Monday 8 a.m. session is going to be mandatory. I really want to see you guys here on Monday morning at 8 a.m. Most of like the Q&A sort of questions, or even a bunch of example problems, including maybe even that topic's homework problems, are going to be covered on Monday at 8 a.m. The Wednesday 8 a.m. session is going to be optional. It's really going to be like a dedicated office hour or student hour just for you all to attend. Okay, so other students that I have in Chem 107 and Chem 111, they're not invited to the Wednesday 8 a.m. session. It is just set aside for you all. Okay? But you can see that those aren't really here. And so if you feel like you need a rundown of both all of the things that you've got to do that week and all of any Zoom sessions that you need to attend, I'm also working on a course map sort of style that's going to be organized by week. Okay, so I've got a color code here, all right, so you see that there's different colors, and then I've also got a couple of color code systems that are specific to your activity session, all right, so these things in pink are for people who are enrolled in Section 3, and things in blue are for people enrolled in Section 2, okay, but everything that's green, black, red, orange, and yellow is stuff that applies to all students, regardless of which activity session they're enrolled in. Okay? So week 1, you can see that, well, everybody needs to view this video, and everybody needs to attend this Zoom session, and that's going to be on Monday, and that's going to be, let me add that here, at 8 a.m. Then you can see that on Tuesday, if you're in Section 3, you have a pre-activity quiz due 5 p.m. that day. And then just so happens that that week on Tuesday, everybody also needs to finish this Google survey. And then you can see, like I said, Wednesday, the 8 a.m. Zoom session or the 8 a.m. class meeting is an optional like student hour sort of meeting. And then you see that I've got details about what Section 3 needs to do. And then moving on to Thursday, yep, Section 2's pre-activity quiz is due on that day, and so on. And then you can see that everybody has a week 1 reflection post due by Friday at 5 p.m. Okay, so that's week 1. It's a little bit light. Let's skip ahead to week 3, which, as you can see, week 3 is where we have our first homework assignment due. So let's take a look at that in the course map. So here we go, week 3. These were the videos you need to view by Monday morning. Also need to attend the overview and example session that morning. And then Tuesday, that's what Section 3 needs to do. Wednesday, this is what you're up to. Thursday, this is what Section 2 needs to do. Okay, and then Friday, we've got Section 2's activity, but then we've got, now on Friday, you have both a week 3 reflection post due at 5 p.m., but then your homework 1 assignment is due at 5 p.m. as well. Okay, so this is going to be typical of the week, all right? You're gonna have stuff to watch by Monday, Zoom session to attend Monday morning. Section 3 people, you've got stuff to do Tuesday and Wednesday. Section 2 people, you've got stuff to do Thursday and Friday, but then everybody has stuff to do by Friday. My folks who meet for our activity on Friday, I would highly recommend that you try to get that week's homework assignment finished up earlier and maybe even much of your reflection post written earlier. There are some things in the reflection post that you're supposed to submit after you do the activity. I would like to see what your thoughts are on the activity and so on. So you won't be able to post your reflection post until you finish the activity, but there are aspects of your reflection post such as the week's lecture content, the homework problems that you've tried on it so far, and so on, that you can write up well before Friday, right? And so then once you finish the activity Friday morning by 10 o'clock, then you just need to add in, like, I don't know, 3 more sentences, another paragraph or something like that, and then hit that submit button. And then you're good to go on your reflection post, okay? So you're gonna have to budget your time pretty wisely on that, but I know that you can do it. So if you've looked on Blackboard so far, you'll see that this older version of the schedule has already been posted. And so I am going to leave it up because it kind of highlights some unusual things, such as this introductory Google Form survey, the fact that we're going to do a practice midterm exam this week at lab. There's one day where you actually have 2 homework assignments due. There's also a week where Cesar Chavez Day happens on Wednesday, and so on. So I'm going to leave this up so that we have kind of like an overview here. And then gradually I'm going to be posting these weekly course map schedules / to-do lists for you guys, all right? So those will be coming up. Heck, maybe by the time you're viewing this video, maybe they will all be up already and it will be a non-issue. So we've gone over what a typical week is going to look like for you, both in terms of your workflow and how that workflow is going to be laid out for you on our Blackboard pages. But we haven't gone over the atypical weeks. Those would be the week of February 22nd, which is where we have our first midterm exam, March 29th, which is where we're going to have our second midterm exam, and then of course finals week, where we're going to have our final exam. So yes, you'll see written out in the syllabus that we have 2 midterms and a final exam. The first midterm is only going to have so much content on it, and if I'm honest, I have designed it to be relatively low stakes, but also to really encourage you to practice up on all of these topics that we cover the first few weeks of class, because folks who don't pay attention to those easier topics tend to continue to perform really poorly on them throughout the semester. So I wanted to make the first midterm that incentive to perform well on it, but without having it be worth a ton of points, all right? So you'll see in the syllabus that midterm exam 1 is only worth 50 points. But then midterm exam number 2 is going to be worth 100 points. This midterm exam is also going to be cumulative, meaning it's going to cover not only everything between midterm 1 and midterm 2, but it's also going to ask you to recall everything from before midterm 1 as well, all right? So midterm 2 is basically your next opportunity to perform well all over again on all of this earlier material. And then finally, the final exam is going to be worth 150 points, right? Because it's the biggest exam of them all, and it is going to be cumulative, comprehensive. It's going to cover everything from the course. It is going to focus more on the more recent material, but it is also going to include additional problems from this earlier material that was covered up to midterm number 2, all right? The exams are going to be administered on Blackboard Learn. They're going to be administered synchronously at 8 a.m. until 8:50 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for everybody, and they are all going to have a 60-minute time limit. Usually it would be a 50-minute time limit, but I'm going to allow for an extra 10 minutes just for some possible technological difficulties. There will also be some problems where I ask you to also upload a file of the work that you had to do in order to get to the correct answer. Don't worry about that. I'm going to make sure that there are questions that make you learn the technology behind the Blackboard quiz and test taking platform in these pre-activity and post-activity quizzes. All right, so hopefully by the time you get to the midterm exam, you'll be able to do all of the fancy schmancy stuff that you need to do to answer each question, as well as understand the content behind the question. So again, these midterms are going to be delivered synchronously, meaning there will not be an opportunity to make up the exam or take it at a different time, whether that time is before the rest of the class or after the rest of the class, unless there was a huge emergency or something like this. All right, so please make sure that you're setting aside this time. The final exam will be 2 hours long instead, but again, it will be given synchronously on Blackboard Learn for everybody on the same day at the same time. And it will also be another timed exam. There will also be one documentary that we watch to supplement our understanding of the class and to also give you a more cinematic understanding of the topics that we cover instead of just hearing it in a lecture format. That's going to happen around here, but I'm going to release that documentary earlier. It is available on Netflix, so if you have a Netflix subscription, you can watch it there, but it will also be provided to you at no cost on Kaltura. I can't upload it to YouTube because there are too many copyright infringement issues with that, but it'll be available on Kaltura, and let's cross our fingers that Kaltura doesn't go down too many times come April and May. Let's talk about what you can expect from the Monday morning Zoom sessions. I know that Mondays at 8 a.m. were already going to be a struggle. Online learning is a struggle as well, and so online learning on Mondays at 8 a.m. are probably not going to be your most favorite thing. So just to keep things light, right when you log in, we're going to start off with something that's hopefully fun. We're not going to dive immediately into chemistry. We'll start with like a poll, maybe some music, maybe a show me your pet sort of session real quick. Then we'll of course just like say hello, hi, how are you? We'll allow for 1 to 3 minutes grace period for people to finish logging into class and all of that. And then once it seems like everybody for the day is there on Zoom with us, then I'm going to assign you to some random breakout rooms so that you can introduce yourself to more members of your class, and you can ask each other the icebreaker, maybe, give like a 30-second story of how you met your pet, for example, or something like that. And then I'll send an announcement to the breakout room saying, okay, now we have this many minutes to voice all of the questions that you had on that week's lecture material. Okay, and hopefully somebody is going to be taking notes on what your questions are, and then after that time has passed, then we will come back together as a class. I'll do a quick overview of the to-do items for the week and any announcements, especially once we're getting closer to midterm time. Then I'll start reminding you, hey, we've got the midterm coming up, and so on. Then I'll ask a spokesperson from each group to ask the group's biggest question that they had, right? But hopefully you've got a list, right? Just in case like a group that talks before your group, if they ask one of your group's biggest questions, then you can cross out that one, and then you can move on to another question that hasn't already been asked by the class, all right? Once we get through each of the groups, then if there are any individuals that have some like burning desire questions, then those can be asked as well. And then I'm definitely going to be setting aside time for us to have a preview of the homework and hopefully even work on like 1 to 3 of the most difficult problems out of the homework, right? That way you've got practice that you've had with me, okay? And these are going to be practice in addition to any of the example problems that I had already gone over in the week's lecture material. So you can see that it's going to be really important that you actually do watch all of the lecture material by Monday at 8 a.m. because otherwise this Zoom session is going to be useless. And no, I'm not going to push this Zoom session forward to our Wednesday meeting because Wednesdays are already going to be pretty challenging for the people who have the activity that day. And I would rather that everybody have brain power designated for the activity instead of both lecture review and activity. It's really exhausting. So Mondays, please, please, please actually watch all of the lecture material by Mondays at 8 a.m. Okay? All right, and also to motivate you to be here, there is going to be a participation points portion of your grade, and that is going to be graded basically on attendance with the Zoom sessions. I'm going to be taking attendance reports both at the beginning and at the end of each Zoom session. And then when you're in these breakout room sort of situations, I'm going to pop into each of the breakout rooms and just say hi to everybody, make sure that everybody waves back or at least reacts back at me so that I can see that you're there and you're participating or listening and so on. All right? That's to hold you accountable. So on that note, let's talk about some Zoom etiquette. Of course, please make sure that you attend the Monday section, and please make sure that you log in on time as well. I know that sometimes life happens and you sleep in, or you had an appointment, or you had to go and get a COVID test or something like this and you can't log in on time. But if that happens and if anybody arrives late, we won't have time to catch you up on what else happened, all right? So please do make it a priority to get your money's worth out of this class and come to the in-person Zoom session with us, okay? Please also make sure that you're logging in with your university credentials, okay? This is really the best way for me to ensure that the person with your account actually is you and that you actually deserve to have the participation points recorded for that day, okay? It's kind of a FERPA thing if you think about it. In the past, I've had students email me from their personal Gmail instead of their Wildcat email with questions about their grade, how they did on a homework and things like that, and I have to email them back that I can't actually answer those questions because they're not emailing me from their university account, okay? And it's actually, I could get fired for responding to emails like that. So anyway, it really does matter which Zoom account you're using. Please make sure that you're signing in with your Wildcat email Zoom account. Please also do make sure to have your notebook handy for little notes on the icebreakers, but of course the question and answer session and the example problems. For your Zoom settings, I would love to have your video on, but then have your audio off for most of the time, all right? Video on, I know that there's some conflicting views on whether to have your video on. From my perspective as the professor, it super sucks, you guys, to teach to a screen of black or a screen of like 1 to 2 faces. It doesn't feel like you're there. I can't judge to see if I'm going slowly enough or fast enough or something like that. I don't know who you guys are. Like, let's be real. I don't know who you guys are, and it would help to at least see the faces associated with the names in my roster to help me feel like I'm starting to have a connection with you guys. Yeah, so if you could manage it, please have your video on. And please don't feel self-conscious about how you look or the angle of the camera or how your hair looks. You know, we're all logging in from home. We're all probably going to need a little bit of grace sometimes. I hope that the Zoom session will be a place where you feel like you really can just show up however you are and just do the chemistry. Now, of course, please log on to Zoom fully clothed. And, you know, your clothing should adhere to university guidelines and all that. So please no Nazi shirts, no violence shirts, no sex-related shirts, not anything too crazy, okay? All right, so now about the audio. If I ask you to speak or you're prompted to speak or something like that, then of course turn your audio back on. As soon as you're in a breakout room, please also turn your audio on. Then of course, if you need to use the bathroom or you need to change your clothes or something like that, please do turn your audio off and your video off. We don't want to see that. Okay, finally, the chat. I love the chat. When I'm on a Zoom meeting, I am always up in the chat, commenting the whole time, asking my questions and so on. And so I would love to see the same thing from you guys as well. If you have a question that you want to ask, but you don't feel like you have time to write it down or something else, or you'll forget it, feel free to pop it into the chat. Now, remember that you can at everybody, and then your question or comment is going to be public for everybody to see. If you want to keep your question or comment anonymous, you can just privately message it to me in the chat, and I will look at it. I will read it out loud to the class, but I won't say who you are. Now, of course, you can also privately message other students in the class, but the transcript of the chat records the entire chat, including DMs. So please make sure that you are not DMing anybody stuff that you wouldn't want your professor to read. So now just a note on my Zoom session etiquette. I'm going to do my best to show up looking professional. I will have my video on the whole time. I'll have my mic on the whole time as well. However, this is my situation. I'm going to be working from home with an 8-month-old. I will have in-home help, either from a babysitter or from the little guy's grandma, but there may be some times where I need to take a quick break to feed him or comfort him or something like this. And so I'll let you know. I'll say, hey, you guys, Freddie's losing his mind. I got to take a quick break away. So I'm going to put you into breakout rooms to chat real quick, but then at that point, I'll probably turn off my video and my audio until I come back. All right. But other than that, I'm going to do my best to make sure that he is all taken care of so that we can make the most out of our time together. All right. So thanks for your patience. And other than that, I really am looking forward to our first Zoom session together where we'll get to meet each other.